Hi, I'm Scott. Welcome back to Synth Stuff. Yeah, I know it's been a while, so I've been away. I promised you a few weeks ago that I was going to feature a new synth on the channel, and well, that new synth has arrived. Today's the day we're going to find out about it. Coming up. I went out to Maine to do some dog sitting for a friend of mine, and I flew my airplane out there, got stuck because of weather. We got some really nasty weather, but I did get back. I was unable to create any videos while I was out there, obviously, because my studio is here. So it's been a few weeks since I had a video up. I put a teaser out a couple of weeks ago, said, hey, I have a new synthesizer coming, and I asked for people to make guesses as to what it would be. Nobody guessed it. Nobody even came close. And I even said that. I said, you probably aren't going to guess it, and I was right. You guys didn't guess it. I got a call from a friend of mine who is a music guy. He's a composer. I've done a lot of work with him in musicals. And he said, hey, you know what? I'm moving. I'm downsizing. I have this old synthesizer that I bought back in the 80s. I was going to throw it away. Do you want it? I'm like thinking, profit. You know, some great rare 80s synth. I'm like, yeah, of course I said, what kind is it? He says, it's a Casio. I'm like, great. You know, I'm thinking like a Casio, like this. They're not worth a whole lot. In fact, they're pretty much disposable. They're basically toys that are, you know, in the low end. I mean, yes, they have some capabilities and they have some PCM-ROM sounds, and they have the built-in speakers, and they have their purposes in life, but they're not the greatest quality of synths. So I'm like, yeah, okay, well, I'll get it, and maybe I'll do a project with it or something. And then he shows up with this. This is a Casio CZ5000. This is not what I was expecting. So I am thrilled to have this synthesizer. This was Casio's attempt in 1985 to go professional, to create a professional synthesizer with a metal case. They were going after Yamaha and the DX7. They created the CZ5000, the CZ3000, and the flagship CZ1 that were in this professional format. They had a version of the phase distortion engine that you also saw in the small CZ101 with the mini keys. That was kind of more of a toy, although it was used by many musicians, including Vince Clarke. But this was the full-size version, double the polyphony of the CZ101. The CZ3000 was basically this without the sequencer. CZ5000 added an 8-track sequencer to it, and then the CZ1, which is the absolute flagship, gave you velocity sensitive key bed and aftertouch. This one doesn't have either of those. What this one does have is a lot of dust and grime. He bought this thing new back in the 80s, and so it's a one-owner synth. I kind of was expecting it not to work because it's been in storage for a while. I turned it on, there was a lot of noise. The noise was coming out of both the volume and the analog chorus. The CZ5000, 3001 have an analog chorus in them that the CZ101 does not have. I just used some Deoxit F5 fader cleaner, put a link to it up here, and sprayed it in there, worked them out. Noise is fixed, so mechanically, electronically, it seems to be working perfectly. All the buttons work, all the keys work, all the sliders, knobs, everything. Everything works. It's just filthy and needs to be cleaned. So we'll get to that. Then I thought, well, let's just plug it in and see if it works, and it works. So I decided that I'm going to do a whole video on this synthesizer, not on the cleaning and restoration because it really doesn't need it. And cleaning, well, I'll clean it with my old standby, which is the Pro Honda cleaner. It's actually meant for motorcycles. I did a whole video on this. I will, again, put a link to this product up here and in the description below. It cleans synthesizers better than anything I've ever used. And since I made that video, which, again, link, I've had a lot of people who bought it and said, yeah, you're right, this stuff is like a miracle for synthesizers. So I'll get that out, clean this up, and I have done some studying because I want to talk about phase distortion synthesis that Casio came up with. It's completely different than any other kind of synthesis that you've seen before, and it's kind of similar to FM in the DX7, but not similar. It's actually pretty clever. And it's a clever way that Casio has come up with to create lots of different waveforms and to do filtering digitally, because back in the 80s, in order to model these sounds digitally, you'd had to have a lot of horsepower, and doing filtering in software is really processor intensive, and they didn't have that processor capability back in 1985. So most of the digital synths you saw either had a digital part that created the sound and then analog filters on top, or like in the DX7, they did it through mathematical trickery. The way the Casio works is really innovative and cool, and I'm going to get into that in the next video, where I actually do a whole review and tutorial about this synthesizer. But for now, I just wanted to get this out on the channel to let people know, hey, this is the synthesizer that nobody could guess, and I'm really kind of excited to get into this and learn it. And it came with everything. I mean, this is, like I said, he was the original owner. Here's some very old and dusty MIDI cables. If I want to use storage on it, well, we have a USB cable that I don't think is going to be from this, because yeah, they didn't have USB in 1985, so I don't think this cable belongs to this synth. However, this one definitely does. This is the cassette cable, so that you can save and record patches to your cassette recorder. Don't know that I'll actually use it, but maybe we can find recordings of patches like you can with the Poly 800 from Korg, where online people have put the audio file of patches, and then you can use that to play it into the keyboard and load them, because all the user patches in this synthesizer are empty. I don't think it's ever actually been used for sound design, because it's just been, the factory presets are there, but all the user presets are empty. Not that there's a whole lot, there's only 32 of each. And I also have all the original manuals for this as well, which I haven't even pulled out here yet. But yeah, all these books and oh my gosh, is that MIDI charts? Oh, this is the programming charts for designing sounds. Oh, maybe he did do some sound design on here, because I see some sound data in here copied and written out. So the user patch sections are empty. I wonder if this has a battery inside that needs to be changed, because if these were stored in there, then I have a feeling that they aren't being stored any longer, because they're all empty. And anyway, like I said, I still got lots to learn about this synthesizer, and if you have any questions or comments or anything you wanted me to cover in the next video, please leave them in the comment section below. And if you have any advice or something that I might not know about this, please feel free to leave that in the comment section below. This series of Casio keyboards is actually reasonably rare and very capable. You can get some really good sounds out of this, and especially with the analog chorus, which was an excellent design by Casio. We'll get into this in the next video. In the meantime, like, subscribe, all that stuff. Thanks for watching. See you soon.